I thought it was just a late-night shift at Burger King, until the fryer whispered my name. Most people think fast food jobs are boring, just a paycheck, grease, and burned-out fluorescent lights. But if you're listening to this, remember something: some places don't exist on the map for a reason. I wasn't even looking for work that night. I was between gigs, couch surfing, trying to stretch what little cash I had left. I stopped by the laundromat near my old apartment in Cleveland just to kill time. And that's when I saw it, a crumpled flyer pinned to a corkboard, sagging under lost pet photos and broken printer ads. But this one stood out. Handwritten in red marker. All caps. No logo, no phone number. Just now. Hiring. Night shift. Good pay. Must follow instructions. No experience needed. It wasn't listed online. Google Maps showed nothing but trees past that highway exit. But something about the wording, it was off. Too blunt. Too desperate. I don't know why I called, or why I drove out there, but that stretch of highway behind the industrial park, the one with no gas stations and no lights, yeah, that's where I found it. The Burger King sign buzzed like a dying wasp, tucked behind a chain-link fence and overgrown weeds. No other cars in the lot, no working drive-through screen, no smell of burgers, just this weird mix of sweet syrup and scorched oil, like someone had been cooking memories, not food. I pulled up, engine running, unsure whether I should knock or just leave, but the door unlocked before I could touch it. It swung open slow and silent, and that was the first time I heard it. Welcome to the crew. If you've ever driven past a place that wasn't on the map, but still had lights on, turn around. Don't stop. I didn't. It wasn't even listed on Google. That's the first thing that still messes with me. I mean, in 2024, if a Burger King doesn't show up on Google Maps, it doesn't exist. Simple as that. And yet, this one did. Hidden off a forgotten turnoff near an industrial road just outside Cleveland. No street signs. No gas stations nearby. I'd driven past that stretch a dozen times without noticing it. But the night I found it, I wasn't looking for it. It found me. I was between jobs, broke, and sick of sleeping on friends' couches. That kind of limbo where everything feels sticky and silent. You're awake, but barely alive. I'd stopped at this dingy little laundromat just to pass time. The machines rattled like bones, and the soda machine was out of everything but Sprite. That's where I saw it, on the corkboard near the coin exchange. Most of the board was just missing cat posters and old pest control ads, but this flyer was different. It was handwritten, thick red marker, all caps, no company logo, no address, just now hiring, night shift, fast pay, follow all instructions, no experience required. There was something wrong about the wording. Like someone trying to sound professional but forgetting how people talk. Follow all instructions stuck with me. Not duties may vary, not training provided, just obey. There was a number. 2. Local area code. I called. No answer. Just a message: interview tonight. Arrive before 10:45 p.m. I don't remember deciding to go. It felt automatic. Like my hands turned the key and the car just moved. That stretch of road was darker than it should have been. No signs, no lights, just trees clawing at the edges of the asphalt. The kind of darkness that eats your headlights. Then out of nowhere, there it was. A faded Burger King sign flickering in static yellow, behind a rusted chain-link fence and an empty parking lot. The logo looked wrong. Like the old version from the 90s, but with sharper edges. There were no cars, no music, no scent of burgers. Just the smell of burnt fryer oil and something sweet, almost metallic like syrup over hot pennies. My gut told me to leave. My hands stayed on the wheel. I pulled into the lot and cut the engine. The air felt thick, like breathing through warm plastic. I sat for a moment. Then I saw it, a single light above the front entrance buzzed once, then went solid. I stepped out. Gravel crunched beneath my sneakers. The wind didn't move. I don't mean it was calm. I mean it didn't move. Like the world had paused just long enough to let me walk into something I shouldn't. I reached the door, half expecting it to be locked. But before I could touch the handle, I heard the click. The lock disengaged on its own. The door swung open, slow and deliberate, like it had been waiting for me. "Welcome to the crew," a voice said from somewhere deep inside. I should have run, but I didn't. The voice came from the back. Not loud, not urgent, just waiting. I stepped inside. The lobby was dark, no background music, no buzzing soda machine, no scent of fresh fries. Just a single cold strip of fluorescent light leaking out from the back kitchen, flickering like a pulse. The door swung shut behind me without a sound. No bell, no chime. Just the silence of a place that wasn't used to strangers. I half expected to see someone behind the counter, maybe a bored teenager or a shift manager wiping down the register, but there was no one. Only the low hum of machines and a faint sizzle that sounded too soft to be food. That's when he stepped out. Tall, gaunt, pale skin under a black Burgerking polo that looked one size too large. The name tag just said Ray in fading red letters. His eyes were sunken, sleepless. His expression was something between relief and regret. He didn't ask who I was. "You're the new guy. Miles." "Right." I nodded, throat dry. "Yeah, that's me." Ray gave me a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He walked over and handed me something rolled in plastic. It was stiff, crunchy. I thought it was a uniform at first, but it wasn't clothes. It was paper, a tightly rolled sheet, laminated, like it had been preserved from water or worse. "Your rule sheet," he said. "Keep it on you at all times. Read it before your shift starts. Don't break the rules, not even once." I gave him a confused look. "Like company policy stuff?" "No," he said flatly. "Not that kind of rule. You'll understand soon enough." That should have been the moment I left. The moment I turned around and said, "No thanks." But I didn't. Because the way he said it wasn't a threat. It was a warning. A tired one. Like someone who'd seen it all before but knew talking wouldn't change anything. Ray turned and gestured toward the kitchen. "Clock in. You've got 20 minutes before the first one shows up." The time clock was ancient, an old punch card machine mounted to the wall beside the fryer station. He handed me a blank white card. I slid it in. The machine stamped the time, 10:41 p.m. But the ink, it was bright red. Not burgundy. Not maroon. Red like fresh blood. I blinked. Probably just a cheap ribbon, I told myself. But my stomach knew better. Ray didn't say another word. He motioned toward the break room. I followed. That was the moment I stopped being a job seeker and started becoming part of something else. The break room smelled like scorched popcorn and expired disinfectant. There was a couch in the corner with stuffing peeking out of every seam, a microwave that looked like it hadn't been cleaned since the Clinton administration, and a corkboard with exactly one sheet of paper pinned to it. Just one. "Remember, smile during interactions. They like it better that way." That was it. No employee schedule. No HR poster. Just a line that didn't feel like it was written for people. I sat down and unrolled the laminated paper Ray had handed me. The plastic cracked faintly, like old bones. Across the top, bold and underlined in marker night operations, "Do not deviate." The font wasn't corporate. It wasn't printed. It was handwritten, every letter sharp and uneven like it had been written during an earthquake. And then came the list. If anyone orders a Whopper with no meat, serve it. Do not ask questions. Do not make eye contact with the man in the crown. He does not order. He only takes. The fryers will shut off at 3:33 a.m. Do not attempt to restart them. At exactly 2:11 a.m., someone will knock at the back door. Do not open it. Do not mop behind the ice cream machine. Ever. If the drive-through speaker begins speaking in reverse, unplug it immediately. Wait 5 minutes before reconnecting. If a second version of any employee appears, avoid interaction and continue working. If you hear crying from the freezer, ignore it. I stopped reading. It wasn't the list that unsettled me. It was how casual it all felt. Like this had been typed up 100 times, reprinted, laminated, handed out like a training packet. Like it was standard operating procedure to pretend the freezer wasn't weeping. I looked up at the wall again. That smile sign suddenly felt less like encouragement and more like a command. Smile. They like it better that way. Who's they? Ray walked in, sipping something from a cracked coffee mug. He didn't say anything, didn't even glance at the rule sheet. He just leaned against the doorframe, eyes heavy, shoulders low. I held up the page. This some kind of hazing thing. He stared into his cup for a second, then finally met my eyes. You'll see. Just follow the rules. I wanted to laugh. Wanted to pretend he was just messing with the new guy. But there was something in his voice, not fear. Not anger, resignation. Like someone who knew exactly what was coming and couldn't do a damn thing about it. One by one, the rest of the night crew arrived. Devin, about my age, headphones in, never made eye contact. Eliza, mid-30s maybe, tired eyes and faded tattoos running up both arms. Neither of them spoke to me. Devin just nodded. Eliza lit a cigarette by the sink, beneath a giant no smoking sign, and blew the smoke into the vent like she'd done it 100 times before. By 11:00 p.m., the place came alive in a way that felt wrong. The grills started humming. The fryers sizzled. The drive-through board flickered to life like it had a mind of its own. Ray ran a silent checklist. Eliza prepped buns. Devin scrolled on his phone, leaning against the shake machine. Then Ray looked at me and said, "First customer usually comes at 11:17. Every night. You'll see." And he was right. On the dot. Headlights broke across the lot like a blade. At exactly 11:17 p.m., the headlights cut through the fog like a scalpel. A gray sedan rolled into the drive-through, beat up, low-slung, windows tinted too dark for the hour. Ray nudged me, but didn't speak. Devin pulled out one of the headsets, slid it on like it was just another Tuesday. I reached for the other, instinctively. Ray stopped me with a single look. Not yet. First night, you observe. So I stood to the side, headset dangling useless in my hand, heart thudding against the back of my ribs. The speaker clicked to life. And what came through wasn't static, but it wasn't human either. It was a whisper. Dry. Precise. Too clean to be electronic. Too wrong to be real. Devin answered flatly, monotone like he'd practiced this line in a mirror. One Whopper. No meat. No pickles. No receipt. I turned to Ray, hoping for context. He just gave a slow nod. Eliza stepped in silently, placed a bun on the prep tray. Lettuce. Tomato. Ketchup. Nothing else. No beef. No questions. She wrapped it like it mattered. Devin bagged it, stepped forward, handed it out the window. Then, barely above a murmur. Have a royal night. The car didn't move. It sat there for maybe 7 seconds. No sound, no rev, no interior light. Then slowly, without brake flash or reverse, it rolled forward and disappeared past the edge of the parking lot, swallowed by the dark like it had never existed. What the hell was that, I asked. Ray didn't answer. He just pointed to the folded rule sheet in my back pocket. Rule number 1. Never ask about the no-meat Whopper. I felt something shift inside me, some inner compass twitching off-axis. Not fear exactly, not yet. More like a feeling of being off-script. Like I'd stepped into someone else's dream. The next few customers came in waves. Quiet. Exact change. No chatter. No receipt requests. They didn't even glance at us. One of them had a face I swear I recognized until I looked away for a second and couldn't recall a single feature. Like the memory had been erased mid-sentence. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the lighting was weird. Maybe I was tired. But every logical explanation felt like chewing cardboard. Useless. Flavorless. Hollow. Time stopped behaving like time. I looked at the clock, 11:42. Looked again 2 seconds later. 12:01. Devin didn't react. Eliza lit another cigarette without looking at the no smoking sign. Ray started humming some off-key jingle I didn't recognize. None of it felt like routine. It felt like ritual. That's when the drive-through speaker sputtered again. Static this time. Garbled. Backwards. Devin moved fast. Yanked the plug. Waited. Plugged it back in 5 minutes later like he was following a fire drill. "You're picking it up quick," Ray muttered. I didn't respond. I wasn't sure what I was picking up, just that something had shifted. Like gravity had tilted a few degrees and no one else was noticing. Some jobs pay in dollars. This one felt like it was paying in pieces of me. By the third order, I started to notice something else the customers repeated. Not just the orders. The exact people. Same car. Same voice. Same time. I watched a blue minivan pull up at 12:06 a.m. and ask for 2 chicken sandwiches. No lettuce. Extra mayo. Then vanish into the fog beyond the drive-through curve. 10 minutes later, same van. Same voice. Same exact order. Devin didn't blink. Eliza didn't look up. Even Ray didn't flinch. I rubbed my eyes. Checked the monitors again. Maybe I'd imagined it. But the timestamp was clear. 2 identical cars. 10 minutes apart. Same mud splatter on the passenger side. Same cracked left brake light. It wasn't a glitch. It was a loop. I turned to Ray. "Hey, did you just don't?" His voice cut the air sharp. "Don't try to track the repeats. You'll fry your head before the fryer shuts off." There it was again. A line that sounded like a joke, but wasn't. I opened my mouth to say something else. Then the drive-through speaker crackled again. But this time, it didn't speak. It breathed. The headset, still hanging from the hook beside me, came to life with a low, rasping inhale. Then another. Rhythmic. Measured. Too real to be static. Too human to be machinery. I reached out slowly, grabbed the headset and brought it to my ear. That's when I heard it. My own voice. Whispering. From the other end, Miles. One word. Just my name. Soft. Hollow. Drawn out like it had traveled through 100 miles of dead cable just to find me. Miles. I yanked the headset off, backed away. Ray didn't even turn his head. "It knows your name now," he said simply. "That part always happens earlier than you think." I stood there. Frozen. Not scared. Not yet. Just broken from the logic I'd clung to for 27 years. The idea that reality stayed still if you paid attention. That things made sense if you were careful enough. But here, things moved sideways. Time flickered. Faces melted. Voices came from nowhere and called you like they'd always known who you were. I looked down and realized my hands were shaking. "Don't listen too long," Eliza muttered from the bun station. Not looking at me. "It gets warmer the longer you listen. Then it starts talking back." That broke something loose inside me. A thought I didn't want to finish. Warm. Like breath. Like heat. Like something close. I backed away from the counter. Ray caught my eye again. "Check the sheet," he said. Voice dry. I pulled the laminated rules from my pocket with trembling fingers. A new line had been added in red ink. I swear it hadn't been there before. If the speaker calls you by name, unplug it. Don't answer again. Ever. There was no pen nearby. No markers. And yet, it was there like the rules were writing themselves as the game changed. Like the building was learning me. That's when I realized this wasn't a job. It was a system. A place built to test something. And I was the newest variable on the board. The floor tiles near the sink had started warping not physically, but visually. The grout lines bent at wrong angles. Like an optical illusion you couldn't unsee once noticed. I blinked and the pattern snapped back. Blinked again. Warped. Like the building couldn't decide which version of itself it wanted to be. Then it happened. Devon turned to me mid-shift and said, "If you ever see yourself walk in here, don't talk. Don't look. Just keep flipping patties." I blinked. What? He didn't repeat himself. He just nodded toward the hallway that led to the freezer. "Double doors flicker when it's close," he said, as if that explained anything. A second later, the freezer lights glitched just once, like a bulb catching its breath. That's when I heard it. A footstep. Not behind me. Not down the hall. Closer. Inside me. Like memory, out of sync. I turned toward the security monitor above the register. The cameras looped every few seconds between lobby, kitchen, and back exit. But on the fourth loop, the lobby feed didn't match reality. I was in it. Standing where I wasn't. Staring at the counter. I stepped backward. On the feed. I stayed perfectly still. Same uniform. Same haircut. Same twitch in the jaw I hadn't realized I had. I looked up from the monitor empty lobby. Looked back still there. Watching. Patient. "Check your rule sheet," Eliza murmured behind me. Her voice was like someone warning you not to scratch an itch you can't see. I pulled it out, already knowing what I'd find. A new line had been added. If a second version of you appears, do not interact. Do not acknowledge. It wants to learn how you move. That last part, how you move, made my blood go cold. Like it wasn't enough for it to mimic you. It had to study. Perfect. Replace. And then, as suddenly as it came, the copy vanished from the feed, replaced by a flickering image of static and kitchen steam. Ray walked past me, casual as ever. He didn't glance at the monitor. Just said, "If you're lucky, it only watches once." I wanted to scream. Not because I saw something impossible, but because I felt it watching from inside me now. Like my thoughts had picked up a delay. From that moment, nothing in the building looked quite right. The ketchup packets were labeled in a font I'd never seen. The napkins folded themselves when you looked away. And the break room calendar was marked with a red circle on a date that didn't exist. 12/63, 1263. I stared at it too long and got dizzy, like the number was pulling me in, like reality had seams, and someone had started tearing them open. Ray saw me wobble, handed me a water bottle with no label and said, "Don't drink it all at once. It's borrowed." I didn't ask from where, because deep down, I knew. This place didn't obey physics. It obeyed attention. The more I noticed things, the less real they became. And something behind the rules was watching what I noticed. I stopped asking questions, not because I understood, but because the building punished curiosity. You could feel it. The way the temperature shifted when you stared too long at a corner. The way the lights dimmed when your thoughts wandered outside the rule sheet. It was like the place had rules, but also eyes. Ray had gone silent. Devin was stuck in a loop, scrolling through an old playlist that never changed tracks. Eliza chain-smoked until the break room fogged like a seance. It felt like we were characters in a play someone else had written, but the writer had gone missing. The script was unraveling. At 2:11 a.m. sharp, the back door knocked. 3 times. Soft. Polite. But final. I froze. Ray didn't move. No one did. I remembered the rule immediately. Do not open the back door after 2:11 a.m. Then it knocked again. 3 more times. But this time, it called my name. Not screamed. Not whispered. Just said it. Calm and casual. Like someone reading off a clipboard. Miles. Then silence. Then again closer. Miles. Eliza dropped her cigarette. Devin pulled his hood over his eyes. Ray clenched his jaw so tight I heard it crack. Then, the handle turned. Not all the way. Just halfway. As if whatever was on the other side was checking. Testing. I watched the metal tremble. Slow. Then settle. That's when I realized we weren't alone in this building. We never were. The worst part wasn't that something was knocking. The worst part was that it knew me. Ray finally spoke. Barely audible. Don't answer it. Even in your head. That's when the voices started coming from the grill. Yes, the grill. The flat top sizzled louder than it should have. The grease popped in a rhythm. It almost sounded like breathing. Then words. He's hungry. Not from the speaker. Not from a mouth. From the sound of heat itself. I backed away. Ray stepped in, grabbed a spatula, and flipped an invisible patty onto an empty bun. "Feed him," he said. "It keeps the walls from closing." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But the air had gone thick like syrup and static. My limbs felt dipped in tar. The corners of the restaurant seemed closer. Like the Burgerking was folding in on itself. I turned toward the front window, but where the parking lot should have been, there was nothing. Not fog. Not darkness. Just void. A flat, dead absence of space. Like the world outside had been deleted. And in that moment, I understood what Ray meant when he said, "Some places aren't on the map for a reason." Because this place wasn't built to serve burgers. It was built to contain something. And now it was awake. The freezer started crying around 2:44 a.m. Not the machine, the room itself. Soft, rhythmic sobbing. Like a child hiding behind crates of frozen patties, muffled by walls too thick for sound to pass through. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Sleep deprivation. Nerves. But Eliza stopped mid-rap, eyes narrowing toward the back. Devin unplugged the shake machine without a word. Ray stared straight ahead and whispered, "Don't react. It feeds on acknowledgement." but I couldn't help it. The sobbing, it sounded so human. So real. A little girl. No older than 7. Saying over and over, "Please, let me out. It's cold. Please. I don't want to be here anymore." My throat closed. "There's someone in there," I whispered. Ray didn't look at me. Just shook his head once. Slow and firm. "That's not a someone. But it wears the voice of who you failed." Those words hit harder than they should have. Not because they made sense, but because they did. I took a step toward the freezer. Just one. The crying stopped instantly, and the handle turned from the inside. Everyone in the kitchen froze. The lights above us blinked 3 times on. Off. On. The hum of the grill cut out. The entire restaurant held its breath. Then came the knock. Not from the door. From inside the walls. 3 slow, deliberate knocks, like fists inside sheetrock. Then again. Closer. Above the fryer now. Then behind the soda fountain. Then beneath my feet. "It's loose," Ray said hoarsely. "Keep working. Keep working like nothing's changed." The rules didn't mention this. I scrambled for the sheet anyway, hoping a new line had been added. But the ink had started to blur. Words melting off the page like they were afraid too. Then Devin screamed. He'd turned toward the mop sink and dropped to his knees. "It's me," he shouted. "It's me in there, I see myself." His voice cracked into something raw. "Why does it have my face?" Ray ran forward, tackled him to the floor. Eliza threw salt, yes. Actual salt across the tiles in a quick circle around Devin's thrashing body. "Keep him inside the loop," she said. "It can't take him if he's grounded." Devin sobbed, clawing at his scalp. His hoodie was soaked with sweat, and his lips moved without sound. I wanted to help. I really did. But my limbs were lead. My voice didn't belong to me. It was like watching someone drown through a screen door. Every part of me screamed, but nothing moved. That's when I saw the fry station screen glitch. The order queue flashed, "Do not feed him," in place of the usual ticket line. Then, it disappeared. "What happens if we do?" I asked, voice hollow. Ray didn't answer, because the lights dimmed again, and something in the vent above me started breathing. Devin didn't speak for the next 15 minutes, just sat in the mop sink, knees tucked into his chest, whispering numbers under his breath. I couldn't tell if they were times, coordinates, or just fragments of his mind falling apart. Eliza handed him a wrapped burger without a word. He didn't eat it. Just held it in his lap like a child clutches a stuffed animal during a storm. And then the power cut. No warning. Just darkness. Total. Suffocating black. The kind of darkness that doesn't feel empty, it feels occupied. The fryers shut down mid-sizzle. The soda machine hissed once and fell silent. Even the humming freezer stopped crying. That's when I noticed the worst thing of all. The emergency lights didn't come on. Ray's voice broke the silence like a blade. "Whatever happens next, don't move unless it touches you. If it touches you, it's already too late. Too late for what I wanted to ask." But the words jammed in my throat. Then something scraped across the floor tiles. Not footsteps. Not claws. Something like wet cardboard dragging a heavy chain. A slow, wet shuffle. Circling the counter. Eliza grabbed my wrist in the dark and squeezed once. Hard. Then let go. I heard breathing again. But closer. Not in the vents now, right behind the register. Shallow and rapid, like it was excited. Then a low growl. Not angry, but hungry. And then came the voice. Not mine. Not Devin's. Not Ray's. Something using my dead mother's voice. Miles, it's okay. I'm here. Come see me, baby. I felt my knees lock. My vision swam in the dark. That voice hadn't spoken to me in 6 years. Not since the ICU. Not since I watched her chest rise for the last time. But now here it was. Inside this cursed Burger King. Behind a counter. Wearing her intonation perfectly. Then came the footsteps. But they weren't mine. They were barefoot. Wet. Soft against tile. And they were walking toward me. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. Only when I felt its breath on my neck did my body react. Ray shoved me to the ground just as the emergency lights flickered back on dim. Red. Like warning flares underwater. The room swam into view, and what I saw still won't leave me. There was no one there. Just deep, wet footprints leading from the back hallway to the spot where I stood, and stopping. Nothing walked away. Nothing turned back. Just vanished. Ray pulled me up by my collar. "You're marked now," he said. Not unkindly. "It chose your voice. That means it's watching you closest." I didn't answer it, I whispered. "You don't have to," he said. "Sometimes, hearing is enough." I looked down and realized the burger in Devon's lap was rotting. Flies. Maggots. Meat bubbling through the wrapper like it had aged a year in minutes. But no one else reacted. No one even blinked. Except me. That's when I realized the final rule no one had written down. The longer you stay, the less of the outside world stays with you. Around 3:30 a.m., something snapped inside me. Not a bone. Not a nerve. A belief. Until that moment, I'd been clinging to scraps of logic, rules, repetition, even fear. As long as there were patterns, there was structure. And as long as there was structure, I could pretend this was survivable. That it was just a nightmare I hadn't woken from. But the building had other plans. The CCTV monitor on the wall blinked to life. It hadn't worked all night. Now it showed footage I knew couldn't exist. Me. Entering the restaurant. Again. But not from earlier that night. No. This was daytime. Sunlight pouring through the windows. I was smiling. Wearing a different shirt. Holding a box of donuts. Ray waved from the counter. Eliza was laughing. Devon stood beside the fryer, flipping patties like a sitcom sidekick. They all looked happy. Whole. Untouched. That version of me put the box down. Laughed. Said something muted by static. The footage froze on his face. My face. Calm. Normal. Free. Then it glitched. The eyes went black. The smile reversed. And blood began pouring from the ears. Not dripping, spurting. Everyone else in the footage kept smiling. Unmoving. Like wax figures. Then one by one, they turned to face the camera. Not in sync. Not dramatically. Just slowly. Organically. As if something had whispered to them at the exact same time. I turned to Ray. What the hell is this? He didn't look at the monitor. That's the reality we traded. What his voice was low, flat. Every night shift. We hold it back. Every burger flipped. Every customer ignored. Every rule followed. It's not for us. It's to keep them in there. Who the ones who got left behind when the fire happened? I froze. What fire Ray's eyes finally met mine. Hollow. Wet. The original restaurant burned down 10 years ago. No survivors. No reports. Just Silence. They rebuilt over it. But the ground remembers. My legs went weak. You're saying this is a haunting. Ray laughed once. Dry. Hollow. No. This is a reenactment. He handed me a worn photo. Blurred. Smoke-stained. In it was a crew of 4 fast food workers smiling. One of them was me. Same face. Same eyes. Same scar under my lip from a bike crash when I was 11. But this is impossible, I whispered. Ray nodded. Yeah. That's what I said too. And suddenly, every glitch made sense. Every looping customer. Every copy. Every whisper. This place wasn't reacting to us. It was remembering us. Or maybe we were just part of the memory. The office door was never locked, but no one ever opened it. Until now. At 3:47 a.m., the intercom buzzed. Not the drive-thru. The internal intercom, used only by managers during safety checks or shipment calls. Except there was no manager. Not anymore. Not since the last one had walked into the cooler and never walked out. The speaker clicked. Static. Then, a voice. Calm. Measured. Masculine. Too familiar. Employee Miles. Please report to the manager's office. We've been watching your performance. You're almost ready. I looked at Ray. That wasn't you. He shook his head. It wants you to listen. What if I don't? Ray just said. Then it'll start shouting. I didn't want to find out what that meant. So I went. The hallway to the office felt longer than usual, like the space was stretching with every step. The closer I got, the more the air tasted metallic, like blood and ozone. The walls pulsed. The Burger King poster on the left wall changed every time I blinked. First it was the king holding a Whopper. Then, a burned man. Then, my father, grinning wide with hollow eyes. I opened the door. Inside, the office didn't look like an office. It looked like a shrine. Stacks of name tags burned at the edges. Photos of smiling workers pinned to the walls with grease-soaked thumbtacks. But every photo had been scratched out except one me, smiling, wearing a crown. Employee of the month. April 2015. But I hadn't even lived in Ohio in 2015. The desk held a clipboard with a single paper on it. Blank except for one line at the top. Do you accept the flame underneath? Sat a Bic lighter and a silver badge engraved with manager. The voice returned. Not from the intercom. From the walls. It's your turn now. The old managers kept it fed. Kept the cycle going. That's what leadership means here. You've followed the rules. You've listened. You've survived. I backed toward the door, but it slammed shut behind me. The air got thick. The room, too small. You don't have to die. You just have to stay. Make the schedules. Write new rules when the old ones rot. Feed the flame. Keep the fryer hot. Keep the window open. Keep the door locked at 2:11. Keep the names off the walls. I looked down at the badge, then at my hands. They were burned. Fresh grease blisters rising like I just pulled a basket too soon. But I hadn't touched anything. The crown from the poster was now on the desk. The voice grew softer, closer, inside me. Someone has to manage the memory, or it breaks free. I didn't scream. I didn't speak. I just stared at that blank paper and realized what scared me most wasn't what they were asking. It was how much of me wanted to say yes. I stared at the manager badge for what felt like hours. The voice had gone silent, but the air still carried its weight like someone had just screamed and vanished, leaving the echo trapped behind my ribs. I opened the office door expecting the hallway back to the kitchen. But instead, I stepped directly into the lobby, and every seat was filled with me. Dozens of versions of me. Some younger, some older. One in a delivery uniform from a pizza place I never worked at. One in my college hoodie. Blood at the corner of his mouth. One version was in a hospital gown. Skin gray. IV needle still in his arm. All of them sat still, chewing invisible food. Silent. Blank-eyed. Frozen mid-bite. I blinked. They blinked with me. All of them. Then one moved. Just one. It lifted its head and smiled not with its mouth, but with its eyes. And though its lips didn't move, a voice came from behind me. We've all said yes. I spun. Empty space. Turned again, and now they were all staring directly at me. Every last one. Smiling. Still chewing. Eyes wide, pupils blown like they'd seen the end and made peace with it. Behind the counter, the grill roared to life. No one manned it. Flames rose tall, licking the ceiling tiles. But there was no smoke, no heat. Just that mechanical sound of something cooking that shouldn't be. I backed away, stumbling into the dining chairs, knocking over a tray. It hit the ground but didn't make a sound. Nothing made sound anymore. Only the chewing. I sprinted to the exit, slammed the push bar, but the door didn't open. Outside was no longer a parking lot. It was a blur of motion like staring at the reflection of fire in melted glass. My own face flickered in it, aged 20 years. Then gone. I banged harder, hands raw, screaming. When I turned around, the lobby was empty. Not a single version of me left. But I wasn't alone. The register lights glowed red. The fry station displayed one final ticket. It didn't say an order. Just 5 words, welcome back. Manager. Feed the flame. Then Ray stepped into view. But something was wrong. His uniform was covered in ash. His eyes were hollow. His name tag read, Raymond, GM since 1995. He didn't speak at first, just walked slowly across the tile, his shoes making no sound, and stared at me like I'd disappointed him. You left the crown on the desk, he said. I didn't ask how he got here. I didn't ask how he was alive. I just stared at him, heart pounding like it was trying to punch through my ribs. This place, I whispered. It's not real. He stepped forward again. Just one step. Close enough to smell the burn on his breath. It's real enough to keep you, he said. And with that, the fire behind the grill flickered. The smell of grease returned, and somewhere, deep in the walls, something started laughing with my voice. I found the crown in my locker. It hadn't been there before. I was sure of it. But now it sat on top of my spare apron like it had been waiting, wrapped in greasy paper. The plastic tips melted and re-hardened like candle wax. A note lay beneath it, typed in all caps. No signature. Put it on before sunrise. I didn't touch it. Not yet. But when I looked in the mirror above the sink, I was already wearing it. Not the me that was standing there, but the reflection, smiling. Nostrils flared, teeth too wide. And behind me, in the mirror, was the entire crew Ray. Eliza, Devon all grinning in perfect sync, arms folded behind their backs like children posing for a school portrait. I spun around. No one there. The break room was empty, but the mirror still showed them. Still showed me smiling. Still. My hands shook. I reached for the mirror and watched as the reflection didn't move. It stood still. Eyes locked on mine. Head slightly tilted. Smile unchanged. Then the reflection blinked. But I didn't. That's when I realized the reflection wasn't mimicking me anymore. It was watching me. The mirror cracked. Just once. A thin, lightning bolt of silver. And then I heard it. A voice, not from outside the glass, but inside it. You've always been here. You just forgot. I stumbled back, breathing heavy. I rushed toward the kitchen, hoping to find anything to prove I was still in control. But the kitchen had changed. The fryer hissed in reverse. The oil boiled upward, defying gravity. Buns stacked themselves, then unstacked. The soda machine played a child's lullaby in reverse, on loop. And written across the tiles in sticky, ketchup-colored letters was one final phrase, "Now you remember." I fell to my knees. Because I did. I remembered a time I couldn't place. A version of myself I didn't know. Wiping tables in this same cursed place. Laughing with customers who had no faces. Being promoted. Then burned. Then repeating. Over and over. I wasn't living a memory. I was made from one. That's what Ray meant. That's why the badge. The crown. The rules, they weren't to keep me safe. They were to keep me here. Bound. Trapped in the belly of something ancient. Something hungry. Something ritualistic. A fast food franchise with roots in the underworld. A franchise that didn't serve burgers, it served sacrifice. And I'd played my part. Every night. Every shift. Every time I clocked in and told myself it's just a job. Because it wasn't a job. It was a summoning. And the worst part, I was good at it. I didn't remember leaving the restaurant. Not really. One moment I was on my knees in front of the fryer, watching reality fold in on itself like dough spiraling into the void. The next, I was back in my apartment. No burns, no badge, no crown. Just a grease-slicked uniform draped over the chair and a paper bag on my nightstand that read, "Thank you for your service. See you tomorrow." Inside the bag was a single cold Whopper, still steaming. For the next few days, I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the register ding. I smelled scorched tile. I felt the weight of a paper crown on my head, even though it wasn't there. The mirror wouldn't show my reflection. Not at first. And when it did, it blinked before I did. I checked the news. There was no record of the Burger King on that highway ever existing. I drove back. All I found was a boarded-up gas station and a rusted sign that said, "Burr," before the letters faded to nothing. No town remembered it. No GPS would route to it. And yet, every night at 10:41 p.m., my phone buzzed with a push notification from an app I never downloaded. Clock in. Your shift begins soon. I deleted it. It reappeared the next night. I changed phones. It followed. I tried ignoring it. Until the dreams returned. Except they weren't dreams. Not exactly. They were memories I never lived, slicing tomatoes on a prep table while something behind me whispered in the walk-in freezer. Cleaning bathrooms filled with shadows that asked for extra ketchup. Sometimes I'd wake up with fryer burns on my wrists. Sometimes I'd wake up in the uniform. No matter where I went, a part of that place followed. A stain I couldn't scrub out. A rhythm I couldn't unhear. And no matter how many miles I drove, how many cities I crossed, I always found another Burger King. Different location. Same rules. Same voice behind the vent at 2:11 a.m. They're not franchises. They're fragments. Gates. Places that feed the thing that feeds us. I don't talk to people much anymore. The words don't come out right. I forget names, but I never forget the rules. Not one. I could recite them in my sleep. Hell, maybe I do. And when people ask where I work these days, I just smile and say, management. Because I still have the crown. Somewhere in my closet, wrapped in burnt fabric. smelling faintly of onions and sulfur. I never put it on again. But I know someday soon. I will. Because the flame never dies. It just waits. It's been 6 months since my last shift. At least, that's what the calendar says. But time feels different now. Slippery. Like every day is a variation of the same shift. Echoing forward and backward across a grill line that stretches into eternity. Sometimes I'll be walking through a grocery store and hear the fryer sizzle even if I'm standing in the produce aisle. Sometimes, the intercom above me whispers, 2 minutes to close, and it's always the same voice. Calm. Warm. Final. I moved states. Changed my name. Switched careers. Didn't matter. One morning, I woke up and the paper crown was on my nightstand. No note this time. Just a receipt curled beside it, time-stamped 10:41 p.m., reading one flame. Paid in full. That night, I saw a man at the edge of the parking lot. Not mine, just a random strip mall off the interstate. He wore a Burgerking uniform from the late 80s, faded and cracked with age. I blinked, and he was gone. But the smell lingered: charcoal, blood, onions. I asked a local about the old franchise locations nearby. One of them leaned in and whispered, "You mean the one that only opens on full moons?" They laughed after, like it was a joke. But I didn't. Because I've learned something most people haven't. These places don't need to exist on maps. They exist in memory, in hunger, in repetition. Every town has some version. Some greasy beacon lit by something older than electricity. The kind of place you pass at night without noticing, and the next morning, you can't find it again. I've tried to warn people. I've written forum posts, uploaded videos. Hell, I even mailed a letter to corporate. No one responds. And those that do, they vanish. One guy messaged me after seeing my post. He said he used to work the night shift at a Checkers in Missouri. Similar rules. Similar visitors. His final message just said they offered me the hat. I think I'm gonna take it. He hasn't posted since. I keep mine wrapped in tinfoil, buried in the freezer. Doesn't help. I still hear it calling. Still dream of the flame. Still see the screen flash red every time I close my eyes. Sometimes I wake up mid-sentence, whispering new rules I don't remember writing. Like, don't speak to the manager with no shadow. Never flip a patty if it still twitches. If you hear children laughing from the playroom after 3 a.m., don't check. Just clean. Rules no one ever gave me, but rules I know by heart. Because deep down, I think I'm not writing the rules anymore. I'm just remembering them. Rules from some version of me that said yes. That stayed. That kept the flame burning. And maybe that's what haunts me most. Not the place. Not the voices. But the part of me that still wants to go back. Because there's a strange comfort in routine, in repetition, in knowing your shift starts at 10:41 and the fryer will always be hot, and the rules will always be waiting. And all you have to do is clock in. Last week, I saw a help-wanted flyer taped to the telephone pole outside my apartment. Same handwriting, same red marker, same words. Now hiring, night shift, good pay, must follow instructions, no experience needed. I didn't touch it. I didn't even look too long. Just kept walking. But halfway down the street, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, even, greasy. I turned, no one there. When I got home, the power flickered. My phone buzzed. A notification from that same cursed app. Welcome back, manager. New recruit detected. I wanted to scream. Instead, I opened my freezer. The crown was gone. Only a receipt remained. Transfer initiated. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about me. It never was. I wasn't the manager. I was just a manager. One in a long line. The crown doesn't pick the strong. It picks the available. The desperate. The ones who follow rules without asking why. Because that's what the flame feeds on. Obedience. I've seen it happen. The diner that only opens during storms. The gas station where the pumps click on at 3:07 a.m. and the attendants never blink. The drive-thru in Louisiana where the customer always says the same thing. One soul. Well done. They're all connected. Outposts. Flickers of something bigger that's wrapped itself around the American service industry like a parasite wearing a paper hat. It's not fast food. It's fast faith. Worship disguised as work. And when you serve long enough, you stop being the customer. You become the altar. I don't sleep anymore. Not really. I rest. I wait. Sometimes, in the moments between waking and forgetting, I hear the friar buzz. The crown hums. The rules change. The rules adapt. They evolve like a virus. Like a song stuck in your head. Do not open the walk-in after 4:44 unless the whispers stop first. If you find your own name on the time card, clock out immediately. When the king knocks, kneel. I don't know how many more recruits they need, but I know I'm done running. There's no escape. Not really. The franchise lives in your memory. It brands your dreams. And when the flame burns through one manager, it just passes the apron to the next. I thought I was telling my story to warn you. But maybe I was just training you. Because you've been listening. You followed every word. You know the hours. You know the rules. And now you're wondering if that flyer ever showed up in your neighborhood. If that extra greasy bag from last week tasted just a little off. If the guy behind the counter didn't blink the whole time you ordered. And if you check your phone right now, maybe you'll see it too. Clock in. Your shift begins at 10:41 p.m. Maybe that's the scariest part of all, not the ghosts, not the rules, not the fire, but how easy it is to fall into a routine that isn't yours, to take orders you never questioned, to wake up one day and realize you've been clocking in, somewhere that doesn't exist. Maybe that's why these places survive. Not because they're hidden, but because they're familiar, comfortable, wrapped in just enough normalcy to keep you from asking the right questions. So if you're watching this at night, after your own long shift, wondering why this story hit a little too close, maybe ask yourself, when was the last time you read the fine print? And when that next greasy bag hits your hands, when the cashier doesn't blink, when your receipt says paid in full, remember, not every transaction ends when you walk out the door. Because the flame doesn't need you to believe in it. It just needs you to follow the rules. And now that you know them, it's watching to see what you'll do next. Will you forget this story the second the screen fades, or will you check your phone tonight at 10:41? Just to be sure. If this story sent a chill down your spine, don't keep it to yourself. Tell me what rule scared you the most in the comments. Maybe your story overlaps mine more than you think. And if you made it this far, save this video. You might need the rules later. Subscribe for more true horror stories that make you question what's real and what's waiting just behind the fryer. Because next time, it might be your shift.